Alrighty. Welcome to the third episode of Fluff Talk. I am Brett, and with me, as always, is Darth Sebius.
Hey buddy, how's it going? Looking forward to getting to the Eldar?
Alright, today is the first part of the Eldar Fluff Talk series. We're gonna break it up into two because there's so much to talk about. Yeah, the Eldar. Putting it simply, the Eldar are psychic space Vulcan elves. Many people will relate them to the high elves of Warhammer Fantasy. Yeah, the Eldar are pretty much elfy. They live extremely long lives. In the 40,000 universe, they are a very psychically adept race as opposed to magic. Yeah. A couple things. The Eldar have your basic elven traits. They're tall, they're very thin, they have pointy ears. Man, I'm kind of disjointed today. Yeah, one of the interesting little tidbits about the Eldar that isn't explored much, but is touched upon, like, briefly, is how they actually reproduce. It is theorized that reproduction amongst the Eldar is a long and staged process that requires the male to implant genetic material several times over the course of the pregnancy, which is rather interesting.
Do they have to be with the pilots of one of the new penis-shaped Eldar flyers? I'm sorry, breaking your flow there.
I didn't have any flow, so it's alright. Yeah. And Eldar do have sex for the pleasure of it, but somehow it's safe from the predations of Slaanesh, or so they think.
That was something that definitely struck me odd about the Eldar. The fact that they do just get into it for fun, which it kind of seems that it would be falling right into Slaanesh's lure, but they seem to do alright with it as long as they're well behaved, which is good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Eldar mythology, which is where I'll actually stop making sense. Yeah. Also known as the Eldar myth cycles. Yeah, the Eldar believe themselves to be the children of the goddess Isha and the god Kurnus. Their greatest hero is the warrior known as Eldanesh, who led them to many victories over many, many different foes that we have absolutely no information on. During this time, there were no barriers between gods and mortals. The gods of the Eldar walked freely amongst their children, if you can say that.
But that's what they are. They're children in a way.
Well, yeah, the children of Isha. I'm sure Cain has a different idea on it, but the Eldar myth cycles really kick into gear with Isha's tears. Lilith, the maiden goddess, had dreamt that the Eldar would cause the destruction of Cain. Now, we all know Cain is the Eldar god of war. He's a very angry, very non-rational being. So, Cain took Lilith's prophecy very seriously and tried to wipe out the Eldar race himself. Isha petitioned the chief of the gods, Asuryan, to stop Cain's slaughter, and in doing so created the barrier between the Eldar and their gods, separating the two, and decreed that there was no god to intervene or communicate with the Eldar ever again. Now, Isha, of course, and Kurnus, the parents of the Eldar race, could not bear to be separated from them, and thus they went to Vol, and Vol fashioned the Soul Stones from Isha's tears, allowing the Eldar to communicate with Isha and Kurnus. And at this point, I don't have to continue reading from Lex Canem, because the rest of it I know by heart. Cain was enraged by this. Cain captured Isha and Kurnus, tortured them for, I think it's a year or something like that. No, he tortured them long and hard, and slowly Asuryan was coming to greatly regret his intervention in the whole shit and shebang. And what ended up happening was Vol managed to get Cain to agree to a challenge. He would make for Cain 100 great swords in a year's time. At the end of that year, Vol would deliver the swords. Cain would release Isha and Kurnus. And at the end of the year, 99 swords were made, and but it was only 99, and the last one wasn't completed, which would render the deal void. So what Vol did was he took one mortal sword and mixed it in with the rest of the fancy, awesome, godly swords, and brought the 100 swords to Cain. Cain picked up the swords, was all kinds of happy, giddy, kid in a candy shop, brought the swords back to his lair, released Kurnus and Isha, and went about LARPing with his swords. It doesn't say that, but we all know that's what he did. Come on now.
99 problems and a mortal sword is one.
Exactly, I got 99 problems and a mortal sword is one. When Isha and Kurnus were gone, Cain discovered the one mortal sword, as we all knew he would. And Cain flipped out, called Vol a cheat and a liar. And thus ensued the war between the gods. Cain's faction on one side, Vol's faction on the other. Asuryan never taking a side. Vol finished the final sword, which would come to be named Anaris, that the Great Falcon later brought to Eldanesh. Eldanesh, as I mentioned, was the greatest hero of the mortal Eldar. Eldanesh brought the battle to Cain, but even with the great godly sword, Eldanesh was unable to defeat Cain, and Eldanesh was slain. Thus, begins the whole Kayla Mentor Cain the bloody-handed thing. And at the end of this, Asuryan had seen enough, said the war was over. Cain was like, yeah, well, I got my vengeance, so fuck it, whatever. The next great big piece of Eldar mythology comes in the fall. Which, yeah. Wasn't sure if that was my part or not. Now, over time, the Eldar Empire had become extremely advanced, to such a point to where all the fancy schmancy technology that mankind had in the all the technology that mankind had in the dark age of technology doesn't even compare to the lickspittle shit that the Eldar had.
This was that time when they were flossing. To put it in gangster terms.
And so the Eldar themselves, with all kinds of machines and technology to handle all their menial work, the Eldar themselves focused on living lives of luxury, which we all are familiar with the idea. Who doesn't want to get up at 11 in the morning, have lunch, go back to bed? Anyway.
Exodites, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
I digress. as the Eldar delving into deeper and deeper pleasure seeking, their pleasure seeking went from your usual, thrill and pleasure seeking stuff, and ended up descending more towards depravity. You had pleasure cults popping up everywhere around the Eldar Empire, growing in size and influence. All of this. Now, the Eldar, like I said, are a very psychically potent race. Hence, they have a much greater presence in the warp. All of the decadence and depravity, now beginning, was coming together, coalescing in the form of a new Chaos God, who we all know is Slaanesh.
Lord Voldemort, surely. She who should not be named.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. So in the 29th millennium, that's roughly the time given. The warp storms that were shrouding the galaxy during the Dark Age of Technology, aka Old Night, to put this from the Imperial perspective. In the 29th millennium, all those warp storms were blown away with the birth of Slaanesh, which tore a massive hole in the fabric of reality, creating the Eye of Terror in what was once the Eldar Empire. Slaanesh had arrived, and millions upon millions of Eldar died instantly, their souls consumed. Previous to this, there were many Eldar who saw, long before all this, saw the nasty way that the Eldar society was descending, and fled the Eldar Empire, becoming what we know today as the Exodites. They were spared this terrible fate, mostly, as were the Eldar of the Craftworlds, who recognized the danger not quite so timely, but still in time enough not to be consumed in Slaanesh's birth scream.
Indeed, sad times for the Eldar.
Yeah, sad times for the Eldar Empire. So you have this, which brings us to the different types of Eldar there are. First of all, you have Exodites. Exodites are the Eldar that fled the Empire, centuries and centuries, maybe even millennia before the fall, to settle on previously seeded crone worlds where they just started doing things from the ground up, the normal way, the hard way. None of the very, very limited use of the psychic capabilities, building and farming the old-fashioned way. They basically eschew everything that makes stuff too easy. Then you have the Craftworld Eldar, who, in the months and weeks before the fall, hopped on their great big craft worlds, which were really titanic trading ships, and fled the Empire as well. And the third group, we all know. Well, you have others. You have outcasts and corsairs and pirates and whatnot, but they're kind of... We'll get to them later. The third group would be the Dark Eldar. And the Dark Eldar, I forget exactly how it happened with them, but they managed to survive somehow just by fleeing into the webway, and they continued their, sick, sadistic depravity and pleasure-seeking in the webway, where they were more shielded from Slaanesh's bullshit.
I think those are already in Kamora were protected from the fall.
Yeah.
So they're all safely locked inside. But I think we'll probably do a Fluff talk getting more into depth in the Eldar.
Yeah, the Dark Eldar will get their own Fluff talk at some point. yeah, one final bit on Eldar mythology before I hand this over to Seb is the Rana Dandra. Rana Dandra, the apocalypse, the end of reality, Ragnarok, whatever you want to call it. Rana Dandra is the Eldar name for the final great battle with Chaos. The Phoenix Lords of the Eldar warrior aspects will fight in this great big battle. The Phoenix Lords themselves, which some of you will know that the Phoenix Lords never actually die. They just kind of hop out and inhabit the nearest Eldar. And son of a bitch, Fellblade's here. Welcome. Sorry. And shit. Totally lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. And at the end of it, it's your basic, end of everything. Your basic end of everything story.
Etch a sketch, end of the world.
Chaos. The great big battle between Chaos and those who are not Chaos, and the material realm is destroyed, reality is destroyed, the immaterium is destroyed, the Chaos Gods are destroyed, everything just ceases to be.
The Imperium aren't going to be happy about that.
No. But I don't think they get much of it. Well, even then, the Imperium has its own... view of it. There will eventually be a great, big, horrible final battle with Chaos, and everything will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So, in all reality, nobody has... Eldar, Imperium, everyone, nobody has any illusions over, oh no, we're gonna survive forever. Oh no, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. There's no stopping this.
It's gonna come to a head with Chaos at some point, and it's gonna be horrific. Just like the idea that the fact that Immaterium and Materium destroyed in one is fairly serious. So there's no anti-nothing. There is just nothing.
Yeah, wiping out the realm of psychic energy that just wiping out the realm of pure chaos. Yeah, that's shit at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of power being exerted there.
Just a little bit.
Awesome. So because of the mythology, it echoes the issues with the Syrian and Eldanesh as well, doesn't it? The gods, because the Eldar thing it definitely happened, but it also didn't happen. The Eldar treat the mythology in a very sort of weird way. Sometimes they take it as being very completely literal, and other times it's not completely literal. Some people are just inspired.
Yeah, sometimes it's literal, sometimes it's more metaphorical. And I want to touch on another thing. This is always... It's always... there's never any real timeline for it. There is all the shit about the old ones and their creation of the universe and all the other races and the Eldar and all that shit. And the old ones and their war with the Necrontyr, who eventually become the Necrons. I believe there is combat between the Eldar gods, supposedly, and the Catan, the Star gods. And this is there's not a whole lot on it, whether it's actual canon lore or it's just, hey, this is what I think. But the Eldar aspect warriors, the Dark Reapers, Cain was in combat with the Nightbringer, and Cain defeated the Nightbringer, but in the process shattered the Nightbringer's necrodermis. The shards of the Nightbringer's necrodermis embedded themselves in Cain, and thus was created, and from this incident was created the Dark Reaper aspect warrior, and then also was the image of death as being this tall, cloaked figure with a reaping scythe is it's believed that all races having that image of death came from there.
I absolutely love that. The idea that just the Nightbringer doesn't look like death. Death looks like the Nightbringer, which is
exactly death looks like the Nightbringer.
Yeah, copying his steez, which is it's a good look. The black hood, large reaper, works for the Death Guard.
Yeah, worked for Mortarion.
Yeah. So yeah, should we jump into looking a bit more into the Craftworlds and things?
Yeah, I say so.
Okay, so here's a picture of the Craftworld in flight, and you have to bear with me a little bit because I'm doubling up on the scenes this time for the first time, so that's a bit interesting. But the Craftworlds are the last pure Eldar before the fall that didn't leave, built great ships of Wraithbone, cannibalizing their ships to create the Craftworlds, and filled them with their people, arts, animals, and absolutely everything that they get their hands on, like epic Noah's Arks in space of living Wraithbone. Some of them got trapped in the Eye during the fall, and it's unknown how many there are in their entirety. But here's the look at Lugarth there.
Luganath. Yeah, it's both ways. There's no agreement on.
It's Monkey pronunciation. Isn't it? Yeah, that's what it is.
Terrible human pronunciation of Eldar words.
Yeah, so they're literally made of living Wraithbone and are one with the Infinity Circuit within them, which contains the Waystones, well, the spirits from the Waystones of all the past generations that live.
Yeah, let me take a moment and explain that.
Okay.
When the Eldar die, when any mortal being dies, their soul goes to the warp. And the warp is the realm of, just pure psychic energy created by the, mental stuff from all mortal creatures. And for the Eldar, their souls would be instantaneously consumed by Slaanesh. But for the Soul Stones, which were supposedly forged from the tears of Isha herself, when an Eldar dies, their soul is captured by the Soul Stone, and that Soul Stone is then implanted into the Infinity Circuit of the Craftworld, which the Infinity Circuit of a Craftworld runs through it like veins do through a human body, and their spirit literally becomes part of this roiling, flowing mass of soul juice.
It's like a soul brain, isn't it, for the whole of the place? Because with all Eldar being psychic, they can even interact it with themselves, which is crazy. Sorry, I've stopped you mid-flow. I do apologise.
No, that's pretty much. And and just a quick thing on the Exodites. For the Exodites, they have a similar thing for the Crone worlds that they settled on. There's a world matrix that flows through their planet, so that when they die, their souls are absorbed. The souls are basically absorbed by the planet and remain there, and don't get sent to the warp and consumed by Slaanesh, and which is a fate nobody deserves.
No, definitely not. No one wants she who thirsts to be thirsting after their soul. That's what the Dark Eldar have to deal with all the time. But I'm sure we'll get into that more when we talk about Dark Eldar. So, yes. So, the Craftworlds themselves are wonderful things, with the Infinity Circuit being a part of them, which completely keeps them psychically linked to every single Eldar. You could just think, oh, I wonder what Barry's doing. You can find out that Barry's over in the Dome of Loveliness having a picnic, and you can go, oh, Barry, do you want to fancy going to the pub tonight? And you can do that just with your mind, which is kind of nice. Obviously these are very English Eldar.
yeah.
But the Infinity Circuit itself is actually just a microcosm of the Eternity Matrix, which actually links every single Craftworld and Exodite planet in one huge way. In a similar way, where the spirits would almost be the veins in the Infinity Circuit, I would say the Webbe would be the veins between the Craftworlds that keep everything linked. So yeah, so we've talked about the Infinity Circuit things. So the most well known of the Craftworlds, their runes are here. You've got Autiok, which is the top left one there. The symbol is the Sword of Vol, which is the Smith God's weapon. They're blue and yellow guys, and their reputation is particularly puritanical. They're very rigid on the path, and which leads to many of them ending up actually being not on the path and being outcasts. So they've got lots of rangers and scouts, and these are the people that we look at in the Path of the Elder books, looking in Black Vault later, and I am completely in love with Autiok. Brett, do you have anything you want to say about Autiok and how wonderful she is?
Well, they certainly have their shit together, I'll give them that.
They do.
But as for, they're cool, but they're not my first choice.
Well, they are mine. So next, the next one to the right there is Altanzar, which have deep red and black colouring, and they are very small. One of the smallest craft worlds. They were thought lost in the Eye after the fall, but have recently been fighting many campaigns against the Eye itself. It turned out they spent 10,000 years in the warp, and when Abi D, as I'm calling him, Falbadon, launched his 13th Crusade, their estranged Phoenix Lord managed to burst through into the Eye and reclaim them, and they've now escaped, and persecuting Chaos as much as they can, but unfortunately the rest of the Eldar are very suspicious, because how does one survive 10,000 years within the Eye of Chaos? So the next one is the sort of Ankh with the heart is Biltan. These are white and green guys. Biltan means the rebirth of ancient days. They're the most martial, and they have the Swordwind Force is their main aspect warriors, and they help out the Exodites a great deal because they're just so on it, and they are the most of all the Eldar. They're the ones trying to reforge the old Eldar Empire, and they have got a serious beef with orcs. And then bottom left, this sort of archway is Lyandon, which means light into darkness. These are the yellow and blue guys. It was once the most populated, but it got absolutely decimated by High Fleet Kraken. So they now heavily rely on their Wraith Guard, who are the ghost warriors, effectively being reincarnated through the Waystones and the souls of the dead, kind of like ghost terracotta army in a way. Yeah, so that's them, and they have had some serious issues with Tyranids. They just every High Fleet that seems to go by anywhere near the Eldar seems to latch onto the Lyandon. Next, you've got Samhain, is the green one there, which means Quest for Enlightenment. These are the red, black, and white guys. They're the most wild and fast attacking of all the Eldar, with their wild riders being well known. So lots of jet bikes and speeders and things.
Samhain, my boys.
Do you like the Samhain, the good old wild riders? Yeah. And they're also the most flexible on the paths as well, which is the most outcasty of all the actual craft worlds in a weird way.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it is in versatility in versatility lies survival.
And a rigorous adherence to the path, I would balance that with. And lastly, but not least, the symbol there, the Tears of Aisha, is Ulthway, or give it its full name, Ulthanesh Shelway, which is the Song of Ulthanesh, which are black and bone, and it's the largest and most populous of all the craft worlds. It orbits the Eye of Terror, and as so, they constantly have to be on it with their Black Guardians. So, more than any of the civilian militia, we've got some Guardians here. There's the Black Guardians up there. There they are. The Black Guardians of Ulthway. They've also got lots of Seers, and the best Seers. And it's Ulthway that seem to be getting involved with the Imperium the most. They turn up in a lot of the Dawn of War games, and they seem to be the ones really sticking it to the Imperium.
Even though during the 13th Black Crusade, the Ulthway pretty much comes to aid the Imperium left and right.
This is it, but they're definitely the most involved with the Imperium, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
They do seem to be trying to help pull the strings, but that doesn't always go well with the Imperium.
Yeah.
So we touched on them a little bit earlier, but here are the Exodites. As I said, they headed to new worlds and to seek out new life and a new civilization with the most hardy, rudimentary ways they could. Obviously, what do you do after the fall? Everyone else has had their souls taken by sheer thirst. We better build some stuff out of stone and ride dinosaurs. That's going to make everything better.
I mean, it's a pretty good solution for me.
It is a pretty good solution.
What do you do when faced with an uncaring, unforgiving universe? Hop on the nearest raptor and grab your laser lance.
Damn straight. It's the best solution to any situation. I do like the Exodites, and I think this is the cover art from Promethean Sun, so you actually get to see the Vulcans boys getting involved without just being in bloody puddles on this van. But because also I think it's a beautiful image. It kind of looks like a perfect tropical island, and then foreground. So the Exodites are very cool, and they have a alternative style of the Wraith Guard. They have the Eldar Knights, which they come in various shapes and sizes, but they're essentially the Wraith Guard and Wraith Lord of the Exodite worlds. And as Ramlesian said, they pretty much the Amish Eldar. They're the most austere of all of them, and from the most austere to possibly the most ostentatious, the Harlequins. or the is it the Relatan? Is that the name? I believe.
That one's all you.
Fair enough.
First I've heard of Relatan. Then again, I haven't really looked much into the Harlequins. So
that's fair enough. Well, they're supposed to be the greatest warriors of the Eldar, and they're also theatrical performers that follow again pronunciation. Sigarach? Is that how we have
Kagorak.
Kagorak.
I always pronounced it Kagorak. That's how I did.
Yeah.
But
I'm happy with Kagorak as long as we don't get spanked in the chat room. So yeah, they follow Sigarach, the laughing god, who is the only one who survived the war in heaven. Everyone else was killing each other and things were going awfully, and he literally popped off to a bunch of Eldar and started the Black Library, which is the...
Yeah, while Slaanesh is running around, fucking up everyone, eating them, killing them, Isha gets captured by Nurgle. Cain gets shattered into a bajillion pieces, which become the avatars of Cain on all the Craftworlds. And Kagorak is like, well, fuck this, bros, I'm outie. Gone.
Indeed, but the thing to do is obviously just turn up to a bunch of Eldar and go, yeah, here's everything about chaos ever. Like, everything. It's insane. The fact that these Harlequins that are one of the few people that know the location of it, but the Book of Magnus is in there. Everything, Lorga, like, it's just crazy. Anything that is to be known about chaos exists there, so that's a closely guarded secret because it's obviously really, really dangerous. And that's also where the Black Library again is where the White Seers will take all artifacts discovered and needing to be purged. But yeah, he Ian feels that he's a dick, and Brett, he is the laughing god, the trickster of them all. But
Loki of the Eldar.
Indeed, and the Harlequins are one of the few people that also know the way into the Eye of Terror as well. So they often hook up with various outcasts and things because that's the only place in the Eye of Terror is to get the Tears of Aisha, the Waystones. So if it wasn't for the outcasts and people, there would be no Waystones for people to be saving lives. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of crazy. And the outcasts themselves are simply those that do not walk the path or fit any of the other categories. They travel around and help out as rangers and scouts, or some of them act as pirates, and some of them end up as Dark Eldar. There's the Corsairs and all sorts of interesting ones, but generally they wander the stars and keep communication and relaying information between the Exodites and the various other craft worlds. And we've already touched on them, but one last group there is the the Renegades, the Dark Eldar themselves. Obviously, they carried on and expanded their ways of pleasure, murder, and torture even after the fall. They're roaming space as pirates and have only the floating city of Komorra as their centre and their base. They have an insatiable thirst for souls and harvesting them from their enemies to keep themselves alive, as Slaanesh is constantly willing their souls from them. I have this idea of She Who Thirsts with just a straw, just holding it over one of the Dark Eldar. So basically, they're munching as many souls as they can get their spiky little hands on, to keep them from being slurped by the lady herself. Is there anything you want to jump in with the types of people, or do you want to move on to the paths?
We've pretty much covered all the people without going into like ridiculous detail. So yeah, we can hop onto the paths. Okie
dokie. So here's the artwork for the Path of the Eldar series. So you've got the Striking Scorpion Warrior there, the Warlock in the middle, and the Ranger, the Outcast on the side there. Now, I just would like to read this quite an interesting quote at the beginning of the Path of the Eldar books. Life is to us as the maze of Linian was to Ulthanesh, its mysterious corridors leading to wondrous vistas and nightmarish encounters in equal measure. Each of us must walk the maze alone, treading in the footsteps of those who came before, but also forging new routes through the labyrinth of existence. In past times we were drawn to the darkest secrets and ran wild about the maze, seeking to experience all that it had to offer. As individuals and as a civilization we lost our way, and in doing so created the means for our doom, and our unfettered exploration leading to the darkness of the fall. In the emptiness that followed, a new way was revealed to us, the path. Through the wisdom of the path, we spend our lives exploring the meaning of existence, moving from one part of the maze to another, with discipline and guidance, so that we never become lost again. On the path, we experience the full potential of love and hate, joy and woe, lust and purity, filling our lives with experience and fulfillment, and never succumbing to the shadows that lurk within our thoughts. But like all journeys, the path is different for each of us. Some wander for a long time in one place, some spread their travels wide and visit many places for a short time, while others remain for a long time to explore every nook and turn. Some of us lose our way and leave the path for a time or forever, and some of us find dead ends and become trapped. That's Cassandras the Anchorite forward to the Introspections upon Perfection, which is possibly the most pompously titled essay or piece of work that anyone has ever done. You might as well just call it the magnum opus. But as much as I mock him, I really like the paths. The paths are chosen disciplines that the Eldar walk to confront their existence and the aspects of their personality, to keep their lives flowing from one moment to the next, to avoid obsession and the touch of She Who Thirsts. The outcast and the exodus for the path of the trap and very dangerous, and the exploration of control of one's emotions, respectively, are the only way to avoid becoming trapped. So the outcast and the exodites having none of the path. Nope, not for them. The path itself is not always safe indeed, and many Eldar can become trapped upon the paths. Whether it's through the ever-dreaming, who get stuck upon the path of dreaming and are never truly awake, kind of like Ed Norton at the beginning of Fight Club. The other ones that get stuck are the bone singers. They spend their entire lives tending the wraith bone that it makes up the craft world and all the ships and everything. And also the other ones that get stuck are the Farseers and the Exarchs. But we'll get a bit more into those once we've blapped through the path. So there is probably an infinite number of paths. They're unique maybe even to each craft world. But the ones that are known so far are the Awakening, which teach Eldar to analyse their surroundings and see out what others would miss. It's quite the opposite of dreaming. It's often precursor to the Artisan. Your Artisan is the most common path. There's many lesser paths like Poet, Sculptor, and many of these conflict with each other, with some getting fully involved in the art, bleaching their skin and tattooing themselves, and others just creating things out of ghost stone and things. There's the path of the Botanist, which is the gardeners and farmers that tend the crops and livestock of the craft world. There's the path of the Command for military leaders. There's the path of Damnation, which is shrouded in much secrecy, but it's believed the Dark Eldar still tread this path, and it was one of the paths that existed before the fall. Path of Dreaming, where you learn to control your dreams and find more about yourself and your subconscious by basically wandering around in a crazy state of being half awake and half dreaming. It's kind of cool that the other Eldar are aware of this and just kind of keep out of your way and bring you food if you need it, which is kind of nice. The path of grief is one that I find kind of interesting. Professional mourners, so the other elders don't have to get quite so sad. Just very odd. Could you come to the funeral, please? I don't want to be upset. Could you just cry a lot in the corner? That'd be lovely. We've got Path of the Healer, all forms of medical care and research.
This is you.
Yeah, all forms of medical research for the healers. They find a spiritual satisfaction in healing. Path of the Mariner, also called Path of the Steersman, which is all the crew of the Eldar fleets. Many of those who feel lost and need to see the galaxy tread this path and then get back on the rest of the paths, or later become outcasts. We mentioned the outcasts, obviously they're not on the paths. And I'll just blab through the rest quickly. There's Scholar, all academics. Service is serving all the other Eldar in what would be seen as menial positions within the Imperium. It's from the same sense of duty that others go from the military. So all the Eldar are servicing one another. There's the path of shaping, which is an extension of the artisan, which leads to the bone singers, the shaping of the wraith bones. Path of the seer, where you begin divination, become a warlock, and eventually, if you stick to it, become a far seer, and become stuck on the path, and eventually become one with the crystal matrix, as the infinity matrix, as a crystal steer. And obviously, one we will look at in much more detail another time is the aspect warriors. You've got the Dire Avengers, Howling Banshees, Swooping Hawks, Striking Scorpions, Fire Dragons, Dark Creepers, Warp Spiders, and many others only unique to each Craftworld. Those become stuck on the path, become Exarchs, and it's worthy of note that the Guardians are not on the path of the warrior. They are just the civilians who have been trained. All Eldar are trained, and they come fight.
Guardians are effectively the National Guard of the Craftworlds without getting quite so good at training. They're basically militia, which is why if anyone's ever played any of the Dawn of War games, Guardians, after the first 5 minutes of the game, suck. Which is why I really think they should have given us Dire Avengers, but I digress.
Yeah, so you're not a fan of the Guardians.
I mean, they serve their purpose, and sometimes, they're good to just, toss in a squad or two of Guardians when you've got some, kick-ass force of Dark Reapers and Fire Dragons, but, I mean, in all the games, they really should have given us, I just said it, Dire Avengers, because, Dire Avengers really are your bread and butter, general purpose unit, but
yeah,
whatever.
I think the Guardians are
I'm not the game designer.
The Guardians are good to show you where they're from, though, because obviously, so these are the Altiok ones, spotting the blue and yellow, and you've got Biltan, obviously, white and green, and the Ulthway Black Guardians looking badass in black and bone, because they're barely civilians. The Black Guardians.
Yeah, the Black Guardians really are more like veteran militias, pretty much. A really good analogy would be you have Taliban fighters that are fighting Western troops in Afghanistan now. Many of these guys are 30-year veterans who were fighting the Soviets in Afghanistan back in the 1980s when they were 15, 16 years old. These are guys who have been exposed to 3 decades straight of nothing but war. And that's pretty much what you have with the Black Guardians of Ulthway, except it's more like centuries upon centuries of war. So, which is why, screwing with Ulthway is not the best idea. Unless, you're avid on the spoiler and, you can walk in with some serious kick-ass.
But it's kind of ironic, though, that even Abby D, as he comes out on his third crusade, helps the Phoenix Lord get in to help out the... Was it the... Ultanasar. Yeah. Which is kind of cool.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that we've ploughed through a lot of the information, and we kind of wanted to have a bit more of a chatette about how had a bit more of opinion of how the Eldar made us feel, because kind of in previous episodes we've had so much information to kind of fire out.
Yeah, we've more been here, have information, and that's it. So, chat room, what do you think of the Eldar? What do you think of the paths? What do you think of this, that, and the other thing?
Because I love them. I am in love with the Eldar. It's weird. Nurgle's my guy. But see, like Nurgle, I like to keep Aisha and make sure that she's all right.
For a long time, I wasn't too fond of the Eldar because I've always had issues with elven races, just because I don't like elves. Well, I like elves, but I don't like elves. It's weird. Yeah, but
that sounds almost sexual. You like elves, but you do not need to get.
I like
that.
Eldar, but I don't like Eldar.
Okay.
I mean, I like elves, but I don't like elves. But the Eldar are. There's so much to the Eldar. They have really, like, their backstory, their background is, I want to say, bigger than that of the Imperium. And
So when we did research for this, compared to the Tau, there's nothing to learn about the Tau, really.
Yeah, there's nothing to learn about the Tau, except, that there's a lot of shady crap going on. Whereas with the Eldar, there's just so much. In the whole Path of the Warrior, in particular, I mean, of course, this is Warhammer 40,000, we don't give a shit about anything but the war and the killing. With the Path of the Warrior, all the different aspect warriors, it's like, even if you don't like the Eldar, you can find a warrior aspect that fits you. Like, if you were a, stealthy marksman kind of guy, you're not even on the path. You could be, you're a ranger. Or if you're a, stealthy, sneak in, stick 'em, sneak out, you're a striking scorpion. If you're a general, just a basic, let's go shoot 'em up, get shit done, you're a dire avenger. If you're a, let's crack open the armor, you're a dark reaper or a fire dragon. There's a little something for everyone with the Eldar, even if it's not Path of the Warrior. With all the differing Eldar paths themselves, there's something for everyone.
Well, definitely, even if you want to jump on a big scaly beast and grow a big beard.
Yeah, even if you just want to jump on the back of a raptor and run around, and for all intents and purposes, the Exodites, I wanted to say this, I totally forgot to say this, the Exodites are effectively the Wood Elves in space, which when it came to me this morning, I was like, that's perfect.
I like that. I'd never thought about it that way before, but yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. And the Dark Eldar, obviously the Dark Elves.
The Dark Eldar, they're just assholes.
No one saw that coming.
Yeah.
But you said there's something for everyone, and anything. One of the interesting things about the Path of the Eldar books, as we get more into that with Blackfoot, is it's not all grimdark for the Eldar. Like, they've come through a lot of suffering, and there's a lot of awful stuff that could happen for them. But you could have a lovely. Okay, maybe if you're an Ulthway, it's going to be a bit different. But if you're on Eltiok or one of the Craftworlds or even one of the Exodites, if you don't get that hassled by greenskins or other races, you can really live out quite a content life, and it's yeah. There's I don't know. There's something beautifully utopian about the Craftworld society and the way the paths work. We talked about the Tau and how they're kind of crazy, not so good North Korean style communism, but the Eldar in many ways they're kind of like. They're kind of how I kind of used to think communism was when I was 16 years old and had this wonderful ideas. If communism actually worked, it would kind of be what the Eldar are. But generally, humans can't do it.
Effectively, it's the Eldar implemented proper, social stuff, and humans didn't. If the Eldar did it, this is how it would look.
Exactly, and it's a utopia. Like, if there's people serving other people food and doing menial tasks for them purely because they feel they want to contribute to the craft world, that's amazing. And the fact that there's no other than obviously the Guardians, there's conscription. But hey, if the Guardians are called out, it pretty much means there's war on the craft world. No one.
Yeah, if the Guardians are summoned up, then shit hits the fan, and it's. Everyone sign up or we all die.
But there's no conscription to the aspects. Maybe if you get too angry and you need an outlet, then you join the aspects, or maybe you want to protect your family, or you feel a duty to to help put the Exodite world, then maybe you will join the aspects. But there's no Eldar has to fight. You could live.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, an Eldar could decide, hey, I'm just gonna like live in my little apartment and do whatever for my entire life. If he wants to, he can do that. He might kind of get, looked at weird, but if that's what he wants to do, he can do.
Well, so what paths? Now we've had a jump shut the paths. What would be your paths of choice? Do you think, Brett?
Me, honestly, knowing myself, I feel the path of awakening is a must for everyone. I would consider the path of dreaming followed by the path of the artisan, except I lean more towards like path of the poet because I'm more of a wordsmith than I am an artist. And at some point, I'd like to think that I would tread the path of the warrior. And
so we had a bit of a chat. We thought we'd probably both end up being Dark Reapers because we just want to blow stuff up.
I'm not very stealthy. I like the idea more of I have a really big gun and there's the enemy and I'm gonna kill him. But
yeah,
I also found the swooping hawks very interesting because most races in Warhammer have jump. Their specialty fast attack stuff is jump. They have jump packs and all that stuff. But the swooping hawks actually fly. They don't jump like assault marines and raptors and storm boys. They fly. They straight up fly, whoosh 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 like birds and shit. I mean,
it's proper Top Gun.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Flight backs are down, and the feathers on it look wonderful as well. That it's an aesthetic thing as well. Because the assault packs and the Space Marines are just big chunky things. There you go, off you go.
Just
Lovely.
big, just big chugging turbofan engines. I mean, which that in itself are just cool, but still.
Yeah. See, I think for me, I'd like to go Path of Awakening and then an artist path, and then Path of Dreaming and then another artist path, and you just be like, wow, that was some weird stuff, and this is some really other accurate stuff. This is weird. I want to compare these two now. I don't know who I am. But I do think there's definitely a big risk with the Path of Dreaming. Because Exarchs for the Path of the Warrior. If you get stuck on the Path of the Warrior, you end up being an Exarch and you stay as that forever. So same with the shaping for the Bone Singers and the Farseers. Now, they all are necessary. We need Exarchs to train Aspect Warriors. We need Farseers.
We need Exarchs to maintain the shrines, to train the other Aspect Warriors. We need Farseers to predict when shit's gonna hit the fan.
Bone Singers need to grow stuff.
To throw lightning at people.
But what is the use of an ever dreaming?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, I can see how the ever dreaming thing is appealing because, I mean, of course, hopefully you're having nice dreams, but dreaming forever isn't bad, but at the same time.
But it doesn't contribute. That's the odd thing. Like
exactly, yeah. I would want to do something that contributed to my craft world and to the well-being of the rest of the Eldar and whatnot.
Definitely, I think one of the things we'll look at a bit more when we do Black Vault and look at the Path of the Outcast book is the fact that with the Infinity Circuit and the Eternity Matrix, you are, in some ways, and obviously through the Farseers and Crystal Seers, the craft world itself is exerting some influence on your life and your destiny. To put it in sort of uncertain, in no uncertain terms, your fate is decided. If you end up being sort of stuck up your own arse, not caring about other people, there's a good chance you're going to end up stuck in some kind of path roll. So it's almost like you can make amends.
Yep.
And I can see how that could be scary and why you would want to be be an outcast, but dying away from a craft world into the arms of Slaanesh doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah, I'm all set with that.
But someone's got to get the Waystones. Like, I don't understand, why do they take loads with them? Because surely there aren't more appearing there over time. There must just be loads there.
Yeah.
I haven't quite got to that part in the book yet. I can't wait. But yeah, that'd be interesting. So yeah, the Eldar, wonderful. To put no finer terms. Is there anything else you wanted to get into, Brett?
No, not particularly.
So, 'cause there's all sorts of military stuff we can get into, but we'll have a
Yeah, I think that's better
day.
for Ramblings of Ian. It's the Path of the Eldar series, Path of the Warrior, then Path of the Seer, then Path of the Outcast.
I would say, without a shadow of a doubt. Oh, then they're the covers. Yeah. Oops, sorry, I've just taken you off. There he is. Lovely.
There we go.
Without a shadow of a doubt, the best 40k or any kind of Warhammer fiction I've read outside the Heresy, and as good as a lot of it. Like, there's definitely a good handful of Heresy books that aren't anywhere near as good as these books. They are, yeah. But,
Yeah.
But we digest. So yeah, in many ways, they are the ideal society, although they've come from ruin and probably headed towards some kind of ruin as well, as everyone is, because it is a grimdark future, after all.
Yeah, it is very grimdark.
But it just warms my heart to know, though. It warms my cockles to think that there are people out there just having a lovely time, making beautiful statues, and getting into tiffs.
Yeah, just getting into like you got two guys effectively fighting, kind of fighting, competing sort of over a girl. It's like, they're competing over the affections of a girl. When it's nice to see such a rather trivial thing in amongst this galaxy of war, death, pain, grim, dark, evil shit.
There's not really time for romance in the Minotaurum factories, is there?
No,
Let's
not
be
much.
fair.
No, not much at all. It's like, so when's your shift off? Oh, 20 minutes. Oh, hey, me too. You wanna go behind the compactor? Oh, sure.
The Emperor's always watching.
The tech priest comes along, whacks him with a little stick. No unauthorized procreating in the manufactorum.
But surely that Megadendrite looks very much like a sex toy, though. That's very, very true, Fox. It would be nice to hear more about the Imperial's background, but maybe we should do a Fluff Talk one day, like just trying to ignore as much of the war bolt upon that's forced upon us. Maybe look into the lives of some of the worlds, because it does get down to bolt upon a lot of the time. Deus and Carmine was bolt upon with a little bit of story on top.
Yeah, pretty much. It was all just bolt upon with. There was a guy. His name was Raven. The end.
So yeah, chat room. Anything else you want to chuck at us about Eldar, or any views you want to have? Because I know people have called them stuck-up pansy elves, and that's just not fair.
They are. That's one thing I will say about the Eldar is they do consider everyone else the lesser races.
That is true.
Which, I mean, some Eldar aren't quite so stuck up. They're like, yeah, well, you got the humans. They're really not that cool, but at the same time, they have, they live in this galaxy too. They have their place. Blah blah. But then the rest of them are like, yeah, fuck the humans, fuck the orcs. Well, everyone says fuck the orcs.
Everyone says fuck the orcs. Even the Tau don't want the orcs in their empire.
Even the Tau, orcs, lost cause.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but they do have the ability of the foresight and everything. They some of their arrogance is justified, but yeah, they are stuck up. It is difficult to get away from that. It's like the Blood Angels are cool if they're not in James Waldo's hands, but they are a bit stuck up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that you just can't get away from that with some people. But they are lovely people. Harlequins are sort of neutral party, but they're kind of crazy in themselves.
Yeah, they're kind of whacked out.
I just like the fact that they just spend their entire time just roaming around, battling, and then straight after a battle, let's just have a wonderful performance. of the fall of the Eldar. In case you forgot, did you know the Eldar fell?
This was how it happened. I pity the Harlequin who at some point has to play the part of Slaanesh. Yes, Zingo, I'm gonna be jumping to the Dark Eldar series like as soon as I can afford it.
Yeah, I've got the first one. Yeah, no, definitely check out the Dark Eldar.
Yeah, I think there's two of them. I think the third one is coming. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. They might all three even be out by now, but
because there's also that beautiful Harlequin. Is it the Mask of Vile?
Yeah, the Mask of Vile.
I think Eldar.
That there's pretty much the cover of it.
Unhappy with the fact that it's the same as something from Skyrim. It's like, come on, how many Masks of Vile have there been in mythology? Like, if something exists in mythology, like, just move on. But shall we bring that to a close? Unless there's anything else people want to jump in. I'd like to see a book about the Exodites, just about them from their perspective. That'd be good.
Yeah, I've been playing around with. I've been experimenting with that.
Ooh.
Haven't gotten very far, but
okay. Well, I'll look forward to reading some of that. Well, should we bring that to a close? Do we know what we're going to talk about next time? Did we pick up something?
Next time, I think I really want to focus on the war. Like, I really want to focus on the aspect warriors a lot. Yeah.
But are we going to wait to they actually release the Eldar so we can get into it with the models as well, or do you want to just jump straight into that next week?
I want to jump straight into it.
Yeah, that's fine. So aspects 2 weeks time. Be here. Awesome scenes. Well, thank you very much for joining us for Fluff Talk again. I have been Brett, and he has been Seb. No. Yeah. Awesome scenes, and we will leave that there. Thank you, and teddy bye.
Thank you very much, folks.